All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle a massive question today, one that goes way beyond that classic idea of are we living in a simulation? We're digging into a theory that says reality is, well, it's something way more fundamental, way more structured than just a game. So let's get into it. So, are we living in a simulation? I mean, you've heard this a million times, right? It's the classic late night question. But what if? What if that whole question is just the wrong way to look at it? What if the idea of a simulation is just, a fuzzy, low-res picture of what's really going on? And boom, that's exactly where we're going today. This quote really nails it. The whole simulation idea, the thought that we're all just characters in some cosmic video game. It's not a lie, exactly. It's just a really simple metaphor. The reality, according to the theory we're unpacking, is so much wilder. It says information isn't just part of the universe. The universe is information from the ground up. Okay, so if simulation is the old, outdated software, what's the upgrade? We need a better metaphor. And that's where this new concept comes in. We're moving from a simulation to a derivation. And this is where you can really see the difference. On one side, you've got simulation. Think of it like a game. It's kind of arbitrary. Maybe there's a programmer somewhere, and you can just hit reset. No real stakes. But on the other side, you have derivation. This is completely different. It's not a game. It's a necessary structure that kind of builds itself from its own rules. It's not fake. It's rendered. And the big one, every single thing that happens has a real, irreversible cost. There's no reset button here. So what does that mean for us, for, well, everything we see around us? This is the core claim right here. The physical world, the chair you're sitting on, the screen you're looking at, think of it all as a user interface, like the desktop on your computer. It's what gets rendered for us to interact with. But the real processing, the real code, is happening at a much, much deeper level. Okay, to really get this, we've got to look under the hood. We need to check out the architecture of this thing. Let's think of it as a brand new operating system, but for reality itself. All right, this diagram kind of lays out the whole shebang. At the very bottom, you've got the hardware. That's the universe itself, the raw stuff. Running on that hardware is the operating system, which this theory calls universal intelligence. And then, what's the application running on top of that? Well, that's you. That's us. We're the apps. So let's just break that down one more time. Nice and simple. Layer 1, the hardware. That's the universe, space, time, information, the works. Layer 2, the operating system. This is a universal intelligence that organizes everything. And layer 3, that's the application. That's you, your consciousness. Now, this universal intelligence idea, this is a total game changer, especially for how we think about the brain. We tend to think our brain is like a little generator, creating consciousness all by itself. But this model flips that completely. It says your brain isn't a generator at all. It's more like a super sophisticated antenna, tuning in to a signal that's already there, a universal field of intelligence. Okay, so if reality is an OS and you're the app, what does that actually mean for you? What's your function? What's your role in this whole setup? Well, your sense of self, what this theory calls the virtual ego framework, is basically a filter, a compression engine. It's like a biological virtual machine. Its one job is to take this overwhelming, infinite stream of data that is actually reality and crunch it down into the neat, tidy, linear story you call your life. It makes the infinite survivable. But hold on. If you're just an application, does that mean you have no free will? Well, here's the twist. You're not a player who can do anything they want. You are a constraint. Think about it this way. You don't get to write the code of reality, but your choices, your very consciousness, selects the path through the code that already exists. You're the one making a potential path become the actual path. But here's the catch. Making those choices, heck, just existing, it's not free. This system has rules. It has real physical costs. And it gets incredibly specific. The theory actually puts a number on it, a coherence constant. It's about 0.87. This isn't just some vague idea. It's a hard number. It's proposed as the mathematical definition of sanity, if you will. It's the threshold a system has to stay above to hold itself together and not just fall apart into noise. And this is where it gets really practical. This visual shows the two ways we can go about things. We can either try to force coherence, try to control everything, impose our will on the system, or we can learn to align with the natural flow of information,
which leads to genuine insight. And the outcomes of those two paths couldn't be more different. You try to force things with control and dogma, the theory says your system becomes brittle, fragile, and eventually it just collapses. But if you align with the flow, through resonance and integration, that's where you find real strength, integrity, and actual growth.
But yeah, that alignment, that true coherence, it's not free either. It has what the theory calls an observer cost. It's the energetic price you pay to turn chaos into meaning. It's why creating order is hard work. The source even frames suffering as a kind of developmental compression. It's the friction, the pressure that's needed to forge something real and lasting.
Okay, so this leads us to the final, and maybe the most mind-bending part of all this. If you're an application, a process, then what exactly are you? To figure this out, we're going to use a classic thought experiment from sci-fi. And this image just says it all, doesn't it? Your identity, the real you, isn't the stuff you're made of. It's not the atoms, it's the pattern. It's the coherent informational signal that organizes all those bits and pieces into you. Remember that. Pattern, not particle.
Which brings us right to the Star Trek transporter problem. You know the one. A machine scans you, vaporizes your body, and then reassembles you perfectly on a planet light years away. Is the person who steps out on the other side still you? Or is it just a copy, and you died back on the ship?
Well, according to this theory, the answer is a resounding yes, it's still you. Why? Because you were never the atoms in the first place. You are the coherence envelope. You are that persistent, structured pattern of information. As long as that pattern is perfectly reinstantiated, your identity goes with it.
So, let's just make that super clear. The transporter isn't a magical moving van for your atoms. It's a fax machine for your pattern. It reinstantiates your coherent informational structure using brand new atoms on the other end. Your identity isn't material, it's informational. It's a pattern. And this final quote just wraps it all up perfectly. The universe doesn't have code, it is code. It's one big, ongoing computation. And you? You are the constraint that selects the path through that code. Which, of course, leaves us with one last massive question. For you. If you are the one selecting the path, what will you choose?